Live from New York. The show that's making a request.
Okay.
Because we just shared stories about butt dials that we get nervous about. For 2026, normalize just calling people. Now when I get a call, I was like, oh,
you panic.
There must be some sort of disaster.
That's true.
Versus like, that person probably wanted to see how I was doing.
Yeah,
like, what do they want?
Can I add something to that?
Sure, of course.
And if you accidentally call someone you don't often call and they don't answer because you butt dialed them, text and say,
it's an emergency.
No, text and say either lie and be like, I was hoping to talk to you, give me a call, or sorry, mistake, or else people panic.
I was going to tell you, it's an emergency, but now I realize I can't depend on it. We are starting, you're in luck, with Drake May and the Patriots. Their first playoff game for the MVP candidate, 2-seed after a 14-win season. Not trying to change up many things. You know what they say? It's not broke, don't fix it. Favored by fewer than 4 in the wild card round in the last 3 years. Patriots are favored by 3.5. 2-7 overall record against the spread, 1-8. And point per game differential is 9. Not very close at all. What are the chances that the Chargers upset the Patriots?
I think they have a really good chance of upsetting the Patriots, even though I'm not picking the upset. Does that make sense? It is not what I believe is going to happen, but I see a lot of ways it can happen if it logically makes sense to the audience. They have some natural advantages that I'm going to say and then duck from Kevin Wildes because I think they matter and he does not. They have the more experienced head coach, and I think the more accomplished head coach. They have the more experienced quarterback, and as you could argue a more accomplished or not, I guess that probably depends on if Drake May does win the MVP. I think May had the better season, and I think May is better than Herbert, but a lot of people think Justin Herbert's better than Drake May at this point in their careers. And so that at least is arguable. And I believe they have the thing that travels best in cold weather in the playoffs, which is the better defense. And that's not a knock on the Patriots defense, which I think has been solid but untested to a degree because of the quarterbacks they have faced. And the Chargers defense what has carried them to this point is, I would say, Justin Herbert's toughness and playmaking and the defense. Like, they have not been a prolific offense, and Herbert's numbers haven't been great, but the fact that he's been available and made some clutch plays. So all of those things, Brew, can absolutely lead to what would, for I think most people, not be a shocking upset. This is not what I would consider, if there is such a thing as a typical 2 versus 7, because there have only been 7 seeds for 5 years. These two teams are much closer in quality than I think your typical 2 versus 7 would be. So, I think they have a good chance.
Well, Wiles, look, you could have put something up there. I know that graphic wasn't really favorable for you, but 7 seeds, Nick, since they've been in the playoffs, are 1-9 in the playoffs.
It's just J-Lo against the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's it. And so the likelihood, but this is obviously a much closer 2-7 than we're used to. Yeah, I think, look, I'm going to say 40% chance. So that means I'm leaning Patriots, but not heavy. I think this is a really closely matched game. If the Chargers were healthy, I think I would be going for them. But they're not, and I think
they were healthy. They
wouldn't even be the 7 seed, right? They wouldn't be the 7 seed. Now, without Joe Alt, and I know we kind of make fun, but they already lost Rashawn Slater. Then they lose their other good offensive tackle, but they beat Pittsburgh and Philadelphia without Joe Alt, and so I still think they're a tough team.
They ended the Chiefs season. I understand the Chiefs ended up, Mahomes ended up being bad.
Still a good
but
win.
That was the game the Chiefs, the game where Patrick got hurt was the game they
knew they had a must-win.
Or the game before that. Yeah, I apologize because it was Houston. But yes, it was a must-win. No, that's right. It was a must-win for the Chiefs, and they ended the Chiefs season.
So that's a big win to me, regardless of how the Chiefs finish the season. And they beat Dallas too, which can be viewed as a good win. So they're still a dangerous team. I agree. Harbaugh is a great coach. Obviously, last year in the playoffs didn't go well, but he's coached 9 playoff games. 2 of them been to 2 NFC championship games, a Super Bowl. So he's going to be ready, I would expect. Justin Herbert, you got a very talented quarterback. Everybody, whether they like Herbert or not, knows how talented he is. And he's got to have a chip on his shoulder because he's been bad in the playoffs, and he's having a very nice season, gotten a lot of respect. He already had it, but he's gotten even more respect for how he's maneuvered this team with the injuries. And he's got to want to finish that off with playing well in this game. And then they have a pretty good pass rush. It's not like best in the league or near the best, but it's pretty good. And Drake obviously has taken a lot of sacks, so I think that's something.
Oh, for the Chargers pass rush.
For the Chargers pass rush.
Yeah.
And with Drake taking so many sacks, that's a little something to worry about too.
I'm worried about Justin Herbert. Last time he was in New England, he won the game 40-7. So I think he just comes in and granted that was Gerard Mayo and that was Drake May and a totally different defense. That being said, you go in the building
he's confident.
Is this where you guys won all the Super Bowl banners? I just put up 40 points on you guys not too long ago. It makes me nervous. I'd feel much better if he had lost 40-7. The other thing, and Danny will talk about it, and everyone, Justin Herbert's defenders will talk about it. No Joe Alt. The offensive line is banged up. It's like if he loses, give him a break. That being said, the Patriots do not get to the quarterback. It is an Achilles heel of the team to the point where in the offseason, I bet our number one target will be, if we're not going Max Crosby or try to make some Myles Garrett Hail Mary. Sacks were 22nd, QB hits were 23rd, pressures were 16th. Herbert's got the most hits taken and most pressures faced. And so it's a little bit of an okay getting after you versus really bad. But I don't think it's going to be the classic Justin Herbert under duress the entire game.
So let me add to that, because in a weird way, leave that up just for a second. Those numbers, just like Myles Garrett's numbers, were even more impressive because they were always losing.
A little bit.
These numbers are a little more alarming because you guys led so much late in games, and teams.
And he didn't throw it as much as a lot of quarterbacks. Drake May.
But this is the defense. What I'm saying
is the poor Jets trying to throw the ball. Right. Miami trying to throw the ball.
You guys had a bunch of times where teams were in gotta-pass situations, and you still are near the bottom of the league.
It's not great.
Here's the other thing that I tried to kind of force into the conversation last week, but it was too convoluted on potential playoff matchups and whatever it was. I don't think it's nothing that the Chargers opted into this game.
Oh, they're confident.
Right. The Chargers walked into Week 18 as the 6th seed and said, we're resting everyone because we don't care about that. We are fine with with losing this game, which guaranteed them, by the way, they would get the Pats, unless the Pats somehow lost their game. Because by the Chargers losing, the Broncos won. So they guaranteed the Pats weren't going to get up to the 1 when they could have, played to win to maybe move up to the 5 or certainly stay the 6 and be looking at Jacksonville as an opponent. But Jacksonville clocked them.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying it's good or bad strategy, but I don't think it's nothing that the Chargers basically said, yeah, we understand by not playing our guys, we almost assuredly are going to be a trip to New England in round 1, and we're fine with that. And it just speaks, maybe it's dumb, but it just speaks to, I think, their confidence.
It just feels like they were bitten by the injury bug all year long.
And so
Harbaugh putting them out there, God forbid something happened to Herbert, and everybody would have been like, why were you gunning for the 5 rather than the 6 when the 1 seed, the AFC West was already done?
I agree with that somewhat. My pushback would be, let's say it was a normal AFC, a pre-Drake May AFC East year. Mm-hmm. And the Chargers are walking into Week 18, and it's like, all right, if we lose, we're going to be the 7 and facing the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And if we win, we're facing Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they might have put more importance on it. They certainly were not fearful of this matchup, whether they should or shouldn't.
All right, moving on. Josh Allen is headed to Jacksonville, much like Coach Mangini's text about must win. He put himself through a self-scout. Perfect answer. Do you like that from Josh?
I do. Look, I like the way Josh Allen gets ready for the playoffs. I don't know if this is new. It sounds like maybe it is doing the self-scout. But this dude is a playoff performer. Like, that has been the difference, even though I don't think Lamar has been as bad as you have. Like, he has shown up. He hasn't been great in every game, but he has been awesome. I mean, you see, again, his numbers, he improves in everything. Even his interception percentage goes down, which is one of his big kind of flaws. And so he's going to show up. And I like that he's proven time and time again that the moment is not too big for him. He doesn't really feel the pressure. And I think that's good because he's under the most pressure in these playoffs. Like, he has to know that Mahomes is out, Burrow is out, Lamar is out. Everybody's looking at me like this is the time. It's you against an old guy in Aaron Rodgers or a bunch of young guys. And so he knows that, but I think his track record shows he'll be fine with that. His last 5 playoff games, it's 2 seasons, he's got 13 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers. So he's going to be fine. It's do the other guys show up? Look, I think the way they'll do it, I start out, because that stat with the no turnovers goes back to the year before that. I think he had 4 touchdowns and 4 turnovers in the postseason. That's when Brady the next season kind of took the offense down a notch and took it out of his hands as far as throwing as much, and he hasn't turned it over. So I think first half, they'll come out. A lot of James Cook, a lot of throwing to the tight ends, playing conservatively. And if they need to, if they don't have control of the game or if they're behind, second half, they've been the best second half team in the league.
But
I think they'll unleash.
I think that's very dangerous in the playoffs. I think that the idea of we're going to be conservative early, and if we fall behind big, don't worry. I don't think they think that, and I don't think they'll let it go that far. But I do think they'll say, let's see if we can get ahead playing conservatively. Sure. And then if it gets close or whatever, then they'll have to let it go. And listen, I don't know how much of the tough playoff moments Josh has had, and there haven't been a ton. That you mentioned the year he had 4 touchdowns, 4 turnovers. That's basically all a product of, I think, one game against the Bengals when he threw the 3 picks. He was terrible. And that was a bad loss. Home loss. That was a bad loss. I don't know how much of my feeling on Josh Allen, the playoff player, is colored by disproportionate games against the Chiefs, because he has been brilliant, but he also has been very clearly antsy. But how much of that is that playing the Chiefs? 2 years ago, on the opening drive of the game, on 3rd down, he throws a lateral. Well, you know what I mean? On 3rd down, they
kept it, right?
Right.
They didn't lose it, but it was a wild play.
It was a wild play that also was a forward pass. Andy doesn't matter.
Yep.
But it was it was the first drive of it's 0-0. There's 14-something left. Late in that game, before Bass misses the kick, he's extending for a first down. He doesn't need to and fumbles the ball, and the Chiefs almost scoop. So he has had some, but how much of that is just it's playoffs and it's the Mahomes piece of it. So I don't know how much that applies here. But here's my answer on what I, need to see from Josh Allen this postseason. And I know that a lot of my friends in the media think we're all being unfair to Josh Allen. That they're just putting this pressure on him. Like, guys, I don't know if you know it, he actually doesn't have a perfect team. No, we know. He just has, according to the analytics community, the best offensive line in football, the rushing champ, and the #1 pass defense. But it's got a bad rush defense. I think very shaky skill position receivers. Right? Not skill position, but receivers. Why? Because I think tight end's good, running back's great. And a coach that we think gets tight. You know what I mean? All things considered, it's kind of like a league average-ish situation that we expect to be propelled by an all-time great quarterback. So what do I expect from Josh this postseason? The answer is everything. The answer is to be able to make the splash plays without turning the ball over. Yeah. The answer is to be the reason your team wins. Because it can't be quarterback's the most important position. There's only 12 really good ones in the whole world. The league's 20th best quarterback makes 5 times the league's best running back, and it's not fair to ask these guys to carry that. That's not the sport, and that's certainly not the sport in the playoffs. If I thought the Bills were a bad team, I wouldn't feel this way. I don't think they're not a perfect team, and they're oddly built, but they have definitive strengths outside of Allen. The offensive line and the running game outside of Allen are brilliant. The pass defense, it's ranked #1 in the league in yards. I don't actually think it's the best pass defense, but it's a good pass defense. That plus what is supposed to be head and shoulders the best quarterback on his side of the bracket when you incorporate experience, that's why they're favored against a 13-win Jags team that I think is really good. I think the Jags obviously can win this game. I might pick them to win this game. But I expect Josh to be excellent. And I think that is what he would want people to expect for him to be excellent.
And there's very little reason right now to think he won't be excellent.
Correct.
I mean, when you look at his track record.
Sunday at 1 in Jacksonville. Jordan Love, bro, back practicing to turn the reins over to Malik Willis while recovering from a concussion. Will rust be a factor in his return? Now, the history doesn't bode well on the road versus a division rival. Last 4 postseasons, 0-9.
That's just overall in the league?
Yeah, when you're playing another division rival. Losing by 18 points and
So that's interesting.
I definitely don't see that happening.
So the road team, when they play for a third time, that's interesting.
Yeah, so not good. But maybe Jordan Love can switch it up.
I mean, look, this is a very evenly matched game. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago won. I think I'm going to, my team is the Packers, and I feel good about them. But I
do.
No, I do. Well, we all know once they lost Micah, they weren't really super. But I feel good, and I feel like they have a puncher's chance, kind of.
Okay.
Like maybe I probably feel. I don't know if I'd have felt better about the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, I would have been more excited. They got more dynamite, the Ravens.
Sure.
But anyway, I do think, look, in a year, maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now, Caleb, if he continues to improve, should be better than Jordan Love. At this moment, I think Jordan Love is better. I definitely think he's more consistent, even though you worry about him sometimes too, but he's certainly more consistent than Caleb. And when you look at last time they played, as far as a complete game, because Jordan Love got hurt in the second game they played, but J-Lo was much better. Caleb did have the nice second half comeback, but threw the interception to end the game trying to make it happen. And Jordan Love was great.
Yep.
And so, look, Josh Jacobs got rested last week. I think that'll be important. He'll have a good run game. I think Jordan Love is facing a lesser defense, even without Mike. And Micah played in that game.
Yes.
But even without Mike, I still think the Packers' defense is better. They're far more experienced. Jordan Love, for a young starting quarterback, this is his 4th playoff game. So he's been up and down, one great, one mediocre, one bad. But I think that experience helps him against Caleb. So, and even the coaching. I mean, Matt LaFleur versus Ben Johnson as far as head coach in the playoffs. So I think a lot of things favor J-Lo. So I do feel good about his chances of outplaying Caleb.
So I think Caleb's better than him. He has not.
Right now?
Yeah, I do. But in these matchups, he hasn't been, to your point. And Caleb against Green Bay in both games was awful in the first half. And in the second game was bad for the first 3+ quarters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that second game against Green Bay was bizarre in that it has the 2 greatest plays of Caleb's career, and that it took those 2 plays and an onside kick to save what otherwise was going to be a terrible loss.
To Malik Willis.
Right, to Malik Willis, who came in and played well. Right. So there is something to this Jeff Hafley Packers defense has given Caleb real trouble. And so I think that is noteworthy. But and even if I'm wrong that Caleb's better than Jordan right now, you're not, I don't believe, going to get crisp Jordan Love. I don't think you miss 3 weeks and all of it, you know what I mean? You are in your first game back instantly, as sharp as can be, especially now he's been dealing with this part for a while without what I would consider your best weapon and safety blanket in Tucker Kraft. And so all of that
his backups played pretty well, though.
Oh, yes. Who was actually, as you've pointed out, the guy who was higher draft pick the same year was supposed to be the better of the 2 players. But it's still not Tucker Kraft, who might have been en route to being the best tight end in football this year. I also don't love, if I'm Jordan Love in this spot, the type of defense the Bears have, which is, yes, I understand it's a bad defense, but it also is a defense that forces turnovers. When that has been, when you say Jordan Love had one great game, one mediocre game, one awful game, the reason the mediocre game was mediocre was a game-sealing pick, and the reason the awful game was awful was 3 picks. Like, he has been, in his limited postseason experience, a guy that'll put the ball in jeopardy. Now, I don't know what Caleb's going to look like in the playoffs, and even though I think Caleb Williams is one of the most talented players coming in the league in 10 years, I think it's possible that a guy in his first playoff game.
I've
never seen him. I've never seen him in the playoffs, so I don't know. I don't know how he's going to play.
I've seen him in crying in college. I don't know. I got to be going in an important game, and he's in the stands crying.
I think Caleb was probably, of all the young quarterbacks that are in these playoffs, I think Caleb pretty clearly had the best college career. Maybe I'm wrong. We can check North Carolina's Holiday Bowl. But if we're going to bring up the college stuff. But regardless, so I do think there is.
Cam
Think
was pretty good.
Say?
Cam.
No, I'm.
In the playoffs,
Bo Nix, Drake, and Caleb.
Also
so that is to me an unknown factor. But I think Caleb's gonna play his best game against the Packers, which is maybe not saying much. And I think Jordan Love's going to be rusty. Like, I don't like this spot for Green Bay, and I also don't think Green Bay right now is a great team. They could have been, but I think with the injuries and the limping into the playoffs, they're not, to me, a scary matchup.
Why are they favored?
Listen, I think that the bookmakers and the public like the Packers, and they don't trust the Bears at all. That's the answer.
Is the line the same as Bills?
Yes.
Jags?
Yeah.
So we're like, Josh Allen's supposed to go down to Jacksonville, and it's the same line. I don't know. Yeah. I kind of like the Packers. I look at it.
Well, look, the Packers beat them when both teams were kind of whole, and then almost beat them with their backup, was beating them for most of that game. And you don't expect Caleb to continue. Like, he's been kind of poor in the first 3 quarters and great in fourth quarters a lot. You don't expect that to continue. You think he's going to either level it out, but he's not going to keep having all these.
But I mean, that is what happened in Week 18.
Right.
Week 18,
but it can't happen.
He likes to kind of, I don't know, comes on late.
But
it's impressive.
I also trust the Bears running game more than the Packers running game, and I think that's something Caleb's going to be able to lean on. To maybe more so than Jordan Love in this game.
MVP hosting the 49ers. Philly starts their title defense. This is Sunday at 4 on Fox. Here's Jalen on stepping up in huge moments. I don't like it. I love it.
That's a boss.
Expect Hurts to continue his playoff excellence.
Nothing else need be said. It's just how I roll. Yes, I do. He's obviously facing a defense that's injury-riddled and struggling. So everybody except Sam Darnold has cooked against them recently. So I think he'll play well. But beyond that, he's proven he steps up in the biggest moments. I mean, even when you look back what happened to him in college when he got benched for Tua, that's tough to come back from mentally. Mm-hmm. And he did it, with flying colors, and obviously now in the playoffs. So if you look at this graph, his last 3 years in the playoffs, this is his record. That's the second best, I assume, to Mahomes. Passer rating. Look at the touchdowns to turnovers. That, I believe, is 5 games or 6. He's won 6 of his last 8 playoff games.
8 games.
I think, but over the last 3 years, that's 8 games. So he's got 19 touchdowns total, 9 passing, 10 rushing, but only 2 turnovers. So I just think with the combination of, I'm not saying he can't have a bad game, but I don't see him having a bad game. 6 of his 8 last playoff games, he's been over 100 passer rating. I see at worst him just kind of being solid, but I think he'll play well. And again, that combination with going against a struggling defense, I think he's going to look good.
Yeah, to your point, Brew, when you look at the numbers are pretty daunting. They're 25th in pass defense.
Yeah. They're
24th in takeaways with 16. They're 31st in interceptions, so that shouldn't be a problem. They're last in sacks. They've only had 20 sacks. Prior to the Seattle game, the 3 games prior, they'd given up 30 points, an average of 30 points. So all that lends itself to it. every single linebacker that was on the original 53-man roster is hurt. So they're either on IR or they're not practicing right now. So there's not a single linebacker who's on the original 53-man roster. Now, all that being said, the last time he faced Salah's defense, and it's only been one time, was with the Jets. They lost 20-14. He did have 300-plus yards. He had 327 yards. He had 2 TDs, but he had 3 interceptions.
Yeah, that was a bet.
And his quarterback rating was 59.5. So there is that component to it, where when they have, from a scheme perspective, now granted, it's different team, different place, but that part does come into play to some degree. I would be shocked if he didn't have a really good game against the 49ers, but
this would be a horrible loss for Philadelphia.
This would be a nightmare loss.
Which sounds disrespectful to the Niners, but it's not meant to be.
No.
Right.
It's the Niners.
They've had a great year.
I think there is a very legitimate case for Kyle Shanahan to be Coach of the Year. You guys know how strongly I feel about the season McCaffrey had. Yep. And I think Salah was, making chicken salad, if you will, for a good portion of the year, given the injuries. And not trying to disrespect the players, but just given how many injuries they had. But eventually it caught up to him. So I understand, and Philly's at home. They're rested. They're, getting guys back that are important. So I agree with you guys that it would be a bad loss. It's also a loss I could see happening. Because I want to make this clear to answer this question. I think it is close to off the board that Jalen Hurts has a dog of a game, cost them, let me rephrase it, cost them the game. Right. Makes a bunch of mistakes, turns the ball over. That's not who he's been in the postseason. But he also has really, outside of that, the Super Bowl they lost against the Chiefs, really their playoff losses, and I think one of the losses to Tampa.
That was his first playoff game.
They lost two.
Second,
they have 2 games against Tampa. Right. He doesn't throw for a lot of yards.
No.
He's not.
He doesn't even throw a ton.
He doesn't throw a ton. So last year, the Eagles in the conference championship game and the Super Bowl scored 95 points, and the offense and defense scored, offense scored. It was unbelievable, their overall offense. And even in those games, he didn't throw for 250 in either one. The first 2 rounds of the playoffs last year, he threw for a combined 260. The offense was what it had been all year. Saquon dominated. Jalen, Jalen made some key moments, or in the first round against Green Bay, had like a 40-yard run for a touchdown.
Then it was snowing.
Right. The snow game was the Rams, and that's when Saquon's pounding himself on the helmet of the 80-yard run. But he was not. The Eagles' offense for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs last year was what the Eagles' offense was during the regular season last year. Jalen took care of the ball. Saquon was explosive. The Eagles' offense, if it in the beginning of the playoffs this year is what it's been throughout this regular season, that's simply bad. They have not scored more than 20 points against a playoff team since week 3. They scored 13 in a win against Buffalo, which is, again, a credit to the team. They scored 10 in a win against Green Bay. They scored, 19
Detroit.
in a loss? Well, Detroit's not a playoff team, but they didn't score. 19 in a loss to the Chargers. The Eagles' offense has been a struggle all year. Now, if they end up losing, we'll figure out who to blame, after the season. I'm ready right now. I know you are. I don't all of a sudden, Coach, think
A.J. Brown.
Not A.J.
Brown. Believe it or not, he's going to blame a coach. But I don't think, Brew. I don't know if you like that. All of a sudden, this is going to be an electric Eagles offense. Even if Jalen is a big game player, which he clearly is, I think this is going to be a conservative, cautious, trust the defense type of Eagles offense, which is who they've been all year long. And that's not necessarily a problem. It's just what I expect.
Well, that to me is the one thing that could give the 49ers an edge. They go into this game feeling like they're playing with house money, and they're loose, and they're willing to take chances. And because, they've dealt with the injuries. Where the Eagles are going to this, there's the pressure of they didn't play their guys, so they lost a second. All the stuff that's been dogging them throughout the entire season, all that pressured up. The offense isn't playing the way it is, and then they go out there where San Francisco rolls in. It's like, hey, we're the underdogs. nobody expects us to win. We're going to cut loose.
Yeah.
That can really
I'm worried about
give you
that.
some momentum.
You're worried about the.
I don't like this. I was trying to come up with a word to describe the Eagles' offense. I've gone through a few iterations. Remember soylent? What do you call it?
Soylent?
Soylent?
Meal replacement, yeah.
Gianna, what is that called?
It's Soylent.
It's a big tech thing.
Soylent. Yeah, people.
So it's like this green goo that they made in Silicon Valley.
How come I haven't seen that?
No, it's just goo, and it's got like all of your nutrients, and they put it in like a baby bottle, and you're just like while you code. So it's got everything you need, and it'll make you successful health-wise. But it's the most boring thing on the planet.
Right.
It's green goo.
I got to look this up.
No, it's not good, Coach. That's the point.
Sounds
It's effective, but boring. And that's the Eagles' game
But if they win, not just this game, but the Super Bowl, nobody cares. If it was boring.
I don't think it's an effective strategy to bad vibe and soylent your way to Super Bowl.
You're very worried about your Eagles. And I think understandably. But
I've got a quote in the bud list. I don't want to spoil it, but Jalen Hurts has a quote that if we heard from anyone else talking about it's Lamar says nicer things about Todd Monken. it's out of control.
Okay.
That's coming up in 23 minutes. Turning our attention to the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, home underdog on Monday night, despite Nick's favorite graphic outlining his Monday night dominance. This is just.
Listen, you guys can make fun of me, and it's fine. But here is what I know. Mike Tomlin believes you can't come into our house on Monday Night Football and beat us. He believes that. And that and he will, tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think he will message that to the team. I think that, and whether it's a placebo effect or not, I do think they have a slight psychological bump that this game is Monday night and not Saturday afternoon. I do
because
believe
of this
that.
record?
Yes, because if you've been coaching somewhere for 20 years and you've never lost in this setting, you're going to feel good about it.
Well, first of all, they have lost.
No, 12-0 at home. 12-0 at home. 22-3 overall. Sorry, bro.
I need my reading
Put
glasses.
your readers on. And so I think that's the biggest factor of this game? No, of course not. But I don't think it's nothing.
It's something.
And I think Mike Tomlin knows it's not nothing. That's all.
I would usually give Nick a hard time about this, but as a head coach, when you're at the podium, you know what you're saying. And when you specifically reference the Monday night component of this, that wasn't just a slip of the tongue, or he knows what he's saying, and he's sending a very strong message of like, yeah, we're really good in this environment, and we expect to be good again in this environment and on this day, because that was not an accident that he said that.
But is it just random, or the Steelers preparing in some unique way that gives them?
It doesn't matter why, as long as everybody believes that that's going to work.
Last time we had something like this, it was Trevor on Saturdays, and they had the third greatest comeback in the history of football. I'm just telling you. You guys made fun of me for that one too. That he hadn't lost on Saturdays at that it was in his whole football career. Because he never lost on Saturdays in college or in the pros.
He's lost a lot on Saturdays in the NFL.
Well, no, they don't play that much on Saturdays in the NFL.
When they do, he's probably lost.
I'm just telling you.
I think we started talking about like different phases of the movie.
Okay, that's fine.
Whenever you break out the.
Tell Mike Tomlin that.
Clemson. Well, Mike's not. He's not talking about.
Listen. He's not going to give away a special sauce. He's just saying I have it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.